Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Camnet TV's Economic Briefcase. I'm your host, Lubinda Bazoka, and my co-host, Mr. Noah Njapao. Mr. Njapao has been the week.
Code.
Very good, yeah.
Yeah, it's been code.
We are converting into, not South Africa, into Europe.
Even drizzled a little in the morning.
Yeah, and that was supposed to be snow. So, ladies and gentlemen, you need to make sure that you stay warm, drink hot beverages, and please stay away from cold water. Don't bath cold water. If you don't have geysers, you need to boil water because sinus and other diseases, flu related to, heart disease related to the cold are very dangerous, much more dangerous than infection rate. So you need to make sure that you dress as warm as possible. Today, for lovers of fintech and information computer technology, we have prepared a very, very nice topic for you. Today we are discussing fintech and its role in national economic development. When you look at the most happening industries in the world at the moment, you are going to see that the richest persons on the planet are basically into fintech, and there are businesses related to ICT. And in Zambia there are a lot of opportunities that you can get, but unfortunately very few, I think, developers or very few youth that are supposed to be engaged in this kind of business are staying away from this or shining away. That's why today we have invited I think the country's best when it comes to to startups in the fintech industry, in the ICT industry, and this is Mr. SIMUNZA MUYANGANA, and he's going to help us digest the topic of fintech and its role in national economic development. Boss Mozwe.
Ande.
Thank you for coming to join us, especially that we came to you at short notice, and we're very happy, and I'm always delighted to hear you speak, and I know you're very passionate about the subject that we are going to discuss today. I hope our viewers out there are going to have already picked up their pens and notebooks to be able to write what is going to be discussed, so that you can create jobs for yourself. Today we shall interact with you. We are going to open our phone lines the next 30 minutes. You can call us on the numbers that are appearing on the screen. You can also send us messages as usual on the numbers that have been presented to you, are currently appearing below the screen. As per tradition, let's see what is happening in the money and commodities market. What's there today? Market updates.
The market updates as of today, the 9th of June 2022. The kwacha against the four major currencies. The kwacha is selling against the dollar is selling at 16 kwacha, 98 ingwe. The pound is selling at 21 kwacha, 28 ingwe. The euro is selling at 18 kwacha, 23 ingwe. The rand is selling at 1 kwacha, 10 ingwe. Selected metal prices delayed by a day. Aluminium closed off selling at $2,765.50. That is per ton. Copper closed off selling at $9,692. Zinc closed off selling at $3,822. Nickel closed off selling at $28,860. Lead closed off selling at $2,225. Tin closed off selling at $37,000. Crude oil prices. WTI crude closed off selling at $121.07. Brent crude closed off selling at $123.04. Today we added an interesting slide, top 5 African countries with the most developed startup ecosystem. Cape Town at number 1, that's Africa. Nairobi, Kenya at number 2. Lagos, Nigeria at number 3. Kigali, Rwanda at number 4. Cairo, Egypt at number 5.
I can't see Zambia there.
Well, that's a very good question. Yeah. Very interesting question.
Yeah, I've seen that copper prices, are hanging on with exchange rates below 17. Let's hope
that's a good sign.
It's 10 very, very soon, so that we can buy cars. I've been driving the same car for the past 7 years. I think.
But you can see that the oil prices are going up.
Yeah, so we need to move into fuel efficient,
machines.
And I've seen government wants to adopt a policy for electric vehicles. Let's hope we also start doing batteries here. We have copper,
manganese,
and manganese. So I think that for Zambia, it's good news. I think we shouldn't waste time discussing politics on Facebook. There are a lot of issues that we can do. I think the major aim of an individual is to make money so that they're able to feed their families and themselves, they're able to educate their children and themselves, and they're able to diversify into also other sectors. So for you to get money, you need to come up with an idea. And today we are discussing FINTECH.
So Mr. SIMUNZA MUYANGANA is Director of Entrepreneurship, if I'm not mistaken, at BONGOHIVE. Maybe you would want to tell us a bit what BONGOHIVE does for those who don't know.
Oh, great!
And the snake that is in the room. Like, what is FinTech? People don't know. What is ICT?
All right.
Or maybe we start by defining that.
Yeah. Then we move to a very interesting company, BONGOHIVE. I think I've been to your Thabo Mbeki office. I know you moved to Zambezi. Is it now called, what road is that?
We're now on Katimamulilo.
Katimamulilo Road,
Yes.
Have you seen I follow?
Yes, you do. No, clearly you do. No, thank you very much, and it's definitely a pleasure to be welcomed by you here, to join you. Definitely, Mr. Halazoka, following your from your lead with the Economics Association of Zambia, giving us a plain view of what's going on in the country and what the opportunities that we can definitely take a grasp of and where we're going, and especially in interesting times like this, it's always very interesting to continue and definitely for the welcome towards what we do. So when you talk about FinTech, FinTech is really a joining of two words, financial technology. And when we talk about financial technology, especially with specifics to digital technology, we talk about technology that can be applied towards financial services, and financial services at the levels of either institutional level or at individual levels with what we do. So if we start with individual levels, the movement of money is something that enables us to do a lot of things that we do in our own lives. You just talked about being able to pay for school fees, being able to buy food for your own home, being able to earn your own wages, salaries, being able to pay people, and being able to buy anything that you have. So the ability to be able to transact, for me to get kwaches and to be able to pay you, for me to be able to get kwaches and be able to pay somebody a school for my education, for example, or to buy something outside the country, that's a payment that needs to take place, whether I'm in the marketplace paying somebody to buy tomatoes, or whether I'm in a shop buying goods, or whether I decide to do it online. Then you also want to enable people to be able to save money, so to be able to store money, to be able to invest that money, and to create wealth or to gain wealth based on that money. So that's another thing that people are able to do. And then also is people want to be able to borrow money. So if I want to do something with Mr. Njapao here, and I'm short of 500 kwacha, I should be able to come to you, Mr. Dr. Halazoka, and then be able to borrow 500 kwacha from you or from an institution, and then be able to get to pay Mr. Njapao here on the other side. And this is something that you can do even with institutions. So now, when you apply technology to this, you apply technology in the sense of how do you make these transactions more efficient, faster, or easier to take place over things like remote distances and things like that. So, for example, mobile money is a very good example. The ability for me, for my cousin in Kapiri, for example, to say she wants to buy seeds, and then message me and say, SIMUNZA, can you send me money to buy seeds? And I can go to an MTN booth, or from my phone I can send money, and then she can go to an MTN, I'm mentioning brands here, sorry, but I mean, like, she can go to a telco, and from that telco she can then collect money. It means that we're able to transfer money very easily without my cousin having to travel to Lusaka, or without me having to put money on a bus and let the bus going there. Now, the advantage is that it's secure. The money can arrive immediately, and the money can be obtained, and that can be purchased. And with her phone, she can still go into a shop and still pay the shopkeeper there, and that money can be moving there. So the technology that enables that to be able to happen is what we call fintech, or it could be operationalized operations that happen within an institution, where you have technology that allows people to assess what is happening within the institution. So you have everything from like what you call bank tech, reg tech, or regulation tech, and other subsets of fintech that allow operations to happen within an institution. So fintech, in short, is a very broad category of different types of technology that enable financial transactions or allow people to aim for their goals or whatever they need to do using technology.
If you come to the company where you work at,
Yes.
you know, Zambians basically don't know, you know, this area for Zambians is very new. I know there are a lot of enthusiasts out there, guys that are, you know, doing wonderful things. We have seen, so I'll be mentioning brands, but we have seen the arrival of things like Ulendo,
Afri delivery.
Yeah, Afri delivery. You know, there's Yango, which is coming from Yandex Taxi. I think that's a Russian, Russian company. But we have seen Zambians are not, you know, it's not Uber that came. It's a Zambian who brought, you know, Ulendo to Zambia. You know, Zamcab. You know, so that people don't say I'm just mentioning certain brands. We've seen a lot of. I have a colleague who's founder and CEO of BroadPay. So basically, this person, I think you know Bright Chinyoni. Yes. So this person was working for a certain company and just woke up and say, "I quit. I'm going into fintech," and he's doing some. He's doing good for himself. As I speak, he's I don't know if you like Nigeria. You might not like what I'm going to say, but he's trying to tap into the Nigerian market. That is for the youth that are out there, for you to know the magnitude and of this business. So when I know the only company that, like, I know that has been doing wonders is BongoHive. What is it all about? What do you do, you know, and when was it created and things like that?
Oh, great. So at BongoHive, we say that we work with great minds building viable solutions that will change the world. And there's a certain set of words there that make that help people to understand what it is that we actually do. So when we say we work with great minds, they say, if you notice, we choose the words we, meaning us as BongoHive, work with great minds, meaning anybody else that can see an amazing opportunity to solve challenges, to build solutions to challenges that exist in our lives or in business or in the business circles, and can use technology to then apply it towards how those solutions. So we say we work with great minds, but great minds are not only the entrepreneurs. It means we look out for the experts like you. We look out for the mentors that will then come and work with them. And then we also look out for the investors that will come and invest in building out these companies. So you imagine that you have a person like Bright Chinyundu. As he's building his company, he needs resources to accelerate the growth of that company. And if it's a problem worth solving, and that's a key statement itself, not every problem, but problems worth solving. So if it's a problem worth solving, then investors find the opportunity in being able to apply resources, because as the company grows, the investment that they've made inside that company also grows, and they can reap a benefit in being able to do that. Then we say building viable solutions. So the actual act of seeing a problem, trying to apply a solution to it, and then building is what we call building a business, and making, and why we say we chose not to just say solutions, but we said viable solutions, in the sense that these solutions should actually be able to make money, and especially for Zambians, I think this is important to say. Zambians are afraid of the word profit, and we need to, if we're going to stand on our own feet, we need to be able to say we want to make money and we want to make a profit. And we want to take that money and we want to invest it in other people's growth, and we want to invest it in other businesses' growth, so that we start to have an economy that starts to sustain itself by the amazing minds in this country being able to build such solutions. So, and talking about ambition, that's why we chose the word. So it's interesting to hear that Bright has gone to Nigeria, and those are the type of people we love, is because then we want to say you're building viable solutions that will change the world. So we're not just looking for viable solutions that will change Lusaka. We're looking for viable solutions that will go outside there. So if you look at people like Bright Chinyendo, you look at Precious Mlambo, who runs Union 54, and Zazu, a fintech that now is in 4 different countries.
Wow.
And within a very short space of time, within 1 to 2 years, he already has customers around Africa that are already using the fintech solution that he has. You talk about Muyam Sokotwane, who's got an education solution that is also again in about 6 countries already in Africa, and it's already online. And that's the beauty about online solutions like fintech, edtech, agritech, and other technologies, is that the rate at which they can accelerate their growth and get into other countries is fast, as long as it's the ambition and you've got a solution that actually can be appreciated around them. Now we do our work with entrepreneurs in a number of ways. So if I say 4 ways, it's 1, we support entrepreneurs through programs and classes that we run. So incubation services, what everybody else calls incubation or acceleration services. And through this is we work at 3 different levels. 1 is at idea validation. Somebody has an idea, and we work with them to validate that idea is an idea worth building a business for. So not every idea. I hate to break people's hearts, but a lot of ideas are not great ideas. But then that doesn't mean that you shouldn't try. It means that we should try and work out why it's not a great idea, and how you can improve it to become a great idea, or what type of ideas you should be looking for if you're looking for a viable idea. And you'll understand as economists that the size of the market matters. Whether people are going to be able to pay for that solution also matters, and things like that are things, and whether you can actually build it are things that we look for when we start to look for a good idea. The next stage is like market entry. So we help solutions then get into the market, and then after that is investor readiness, which we help the entrepreneurs get to a place where they can have conversations with investors, whether it's local investors through like institutions like the Zambia Business Angels Network, which was recently launched to allow people who are interested in investing in companies to work together towards finding companies that they can invest in. Then the second thing that we do is we have a consultancy, a digital consultancy that helps companies and corporations and institutions to either work on developing their innovative ideas. So just like individuals want to create innovative ideas, even companies want to have digital solutions. So we can either work with them on ideating the ideas through our innovation consultancy, or we can work with them with actually building what it is that they want from a technology point of view through our technology consultancy that does software development. Then the third thing is we have a co-working space. So where we move to now in Katima Mulilo is a co-working space. Now a co-working space allows entrepreneurs to be able to rent a small part of a building or a space inside a building and have many businesses work from the same building. And by being able to do so, instead of you going to go onto Cairo Road, wherever, to rent a whole place for a certain amount, is you can work with other entrepreneurs in one building, and that's what we've done with what we call the Hive on Katima Mulilo Road. So you can rent a whole room, or the entrepreneurs who are working on their own who just want to rent a desk, and you want to pay for that desk every single month, and you can work well. The fourth vehicle that we're finally building is we're finally raising a fund to be able to invest in entrepreneurs. So we, having worked with entrepreneurs and having convinced ourselves that the amazing Zambians who can build great businesses, we also know that there's a gap of between about $50,000 and $2 million in funding for entrepreneurs to be able to access patient capital to accelerate their growth. So a lot of the investors I'm not saying they're not investors in Zambia. They are investors in Zambia, but the investors we have in Zambia are looking for businesses that can consume at least $2 million and above. So 2, 5, 10, 15, 20 million and above is they're able to do that. If you try as a business to raise money below $2 million in Zambia, it's very, very hard. So we're building a venture capital fund that will be able to address now the gap, the lower end of the gap, to accelerate the growth of these companies, and hopefully to a place where private equity firms that can do $2 million and above can then invest further on to accelerate the growth of companies like that. So I hope that in a nutshell that sort of explains what we do as BongoHive.
So for those of us that are watching and some things they don't understand, you have an idea, and the fourth part of what BongoHive wants to do is to create a venture capital fund which is going to be funding interesting businesses and new ideas, brilliant ideas. When you look at Google, Microsoft, Facebook, they were all funded by venture capitalists.
Yeah.
So venture capitalists are various individuals that come together, they pool resources, and they look for businesses, promising businesses to invest in. I know in this program, a lot of people have called us asking where they can find money, they have ideas where they can get money, and it's very true. Capital in Zambia, banks won't lend.
No.
They won't give you that capital because, like he rightly put it, we don't have patient capital, meaning there are very few funders out there that are patient. They will give you seed capital, they will give you capital to develop a program, so that at least you develop a project, a product. So you have an idea, it's on paper. That idea needs to create a product, then you need to test it, then you need to to start up, then you need capital for growth. Then when you have grown, you are generating income. Venture capitalists never stay. They'll pull out by selling their shares, and then they move to the next building. This is when you looked at the beginning when Mr. Njapao showed us that list. Zambia does not have, it's not very prominent in Africa. Reason being, we don't have that type of funding, and there are very few incubators. When we hosted the summit in Livingstone in 2019 as EZ, we invited a colleague from Israel, and he runs an incubator called Atobe. So these guys, they sit on over $1 billion worth of funds, and just like, the way BongoHive is, I've been to your Thabo Mbeki office, the way it's informal, it's a formal office, but it appears formal to give a person
that
comfortability. To think, yes, that arrangement. So that's what the youth out there are supposed to look at. Just maybe to explain from what I've understood and.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
That I know.
No, you're absolutely right.
But as a country, where are we in terms of, let's say, the information technology industry, specifically the fintech industry?
Oh, great. We're actually not in a bad place. We're actually in a place where, so when people make comparisons about how technology is applied in certain countries, the two key things, there are a couple of factors that you have to consider. One is what infrastructure actually exists in the country that allows you to then carry out certain things, and two, how far are you from being able to apply that technology or having regulation that allows that technology to be applied in a place like that. So you actually find that in certain cases, Zambia is actually ahead of a number of African countries. A lot of African countries. So I'll take, for example, with regards to regulation. So Zambia right now, when it comes to regulation from either the central bank or the Securities Exchange Commission, who are the two, if you want to also include like the insurance regulators as well. Yeah. From that level, if you consider that level, then you consider that in Africa, Zambia is considered probably to have, in soft terms, what you'd call probably the most friendly regulators on this continent, with regards to they'll actually listen to you, they'll actually give you guidance on whether or not your fintech idea can actually be applied or not. Now, when people complain about the regulator, is because and when you have an honest conversation with, for example, the regulators, they'll tell you a lot of people are coming here with ideas we've already seen. with ideas that are already in the market. So when we just tell them, fill this paper out, we'll give you the license, and so on, and it takes a long time to fill it out. A lot of that is because they'll say, like, there's nothing very different from what you're trying to do. Now, with most places, remember a regulator is always in a position where they regulate the market to make sure that there's fairness. They also regulate the market to make sure that there's protection of consumers and other players within the market. So when it seems like they're being tough and they're saying no, it's because they've got a job. They need to make sure that the market is protected. But what they'll do is, if you have a novel idea, an idea that has not been implemented in Zambia before, it's a totally new idea. Both the SEC and the Bank of Zambia have now set up what you call sandboxes. And within a sandbox environment, it allows them to say, we have never ever seen this idea before in this country, and we have no regulations that can be applied to this idea because it's a new idea. So instead of saying no to you and saying, this is dangerous, we don't know what this is we'll say, okay, great. Bring your idea, write out your full business plan of how to operate, show us what you need to build. Before you go and test it on people, we'll give you a temporary license that will tell you, within this area, you can start to engage customers, but report to us very regularly, so we actually understand how this technology of yours is being applied, and how it's working with people, and how people are actually using it. And during a period of 2 years, it gives us enough time to study how your business actually works, how this technology is applied, where you need protection, where you need to apply security, and so on and so on and kind of stuff to this technology. We can advise you on those things. And then we'll create new regulations so that the next guy who comes with the same idea, he'll find that we've now developed a license for what you're trying to do. Because previously what they would have said is that this looks scary, we don't understand it, go away. But now they're open to saying, no, come and work closer to us. Let's observe you. Let's find out what you're doing. Let's give you a few customers that you can operate with. If it works properly, we'll give you more customers that you can operate so that you can grow. And if it works perfectly, we'll issue new regulations, a new license, and you can go into the market. So one of the very few countries on this continent that allows that to be able to happen. So then what stifles you then is, from a market point of view, is, are people actually taking new ideas to the central bank now that they're able to do so? And we've seen, for example, when they launched the sandboxes last year, we've seen companies like Premier Credit, Lupia being able to go. But
actually, that's something that
peer-to-peer lending. Eh?
Yes, and that's under the SEC. It's in the sandbox because there actually is no regulation for peer-to-peer lending.
But I think that hasn't also been publicized enough that there's that sandbox. Then people can,
it has. It's been shared on Facebook. It's been shared. It's been shared everywhere. We've done events with the Bank of Zambia. We've done events with the Securities and Exchange Commission. All the financial institutions know about this. So maybe it's not gossip, but it's been shared on social media.
And also we see that, speaking of those new ideas, and we've seen that central banks around the world, even in Africa, have this idea of the e-currency. How would the Bank of Zambia be receptive towards that? Has anyone taken such an idea? I wonder.
Actually, if I'm correct, they did announce last year that they are considering an e-kwacha.
Okay.
Yeah, they are studying it. They haven't yet announced when they're launching it or if they're going to launch it, but they're actually studying the steps towards a bank-regulated stablecoin.
Okay.
Which would be the call. Just like so, Nigeria launched an e-naira. So even the central bank, if I'm correct, did announce that they are looking into what it would be to then launch a stable e-kwacha. Yeah.
So I've noticed, like, one of the main functions of technology is to make it easier for us to live.
Yes.
So at the moment, if I want to get food, well, I'm at home, I'm drinking, maybe water or whiskey, and my whiskey finishes. I need more whiskey, I need what? I can go on Ulendo,
yes,
Eats, and order. So it makes it easy. I don't call anybody, I don't know what. Then how to pay a person, even if I don't have cash, I can use mobile money, I can swipe, I can do anything. We have seen, I've noticed that maybe we are not really implementing ideas, or maybe the ideas are there, we don't know. There's a shortage of, so-called shortage of onions in Zambia. Yeah? But I can tell you, the time I tried farming, I did lettuce. And I knew that there are people that are complaining that there's no lettuce in Zambia, because when you go into the chain stores, you find rotten lettuce, doesn't come from South Africa. But there are farmers that have produce. But there's no one to aggregate them using ICT. For example, if I own a restaurant, I need lettuce. I just go on an app, I say, okay, which farmer has that? When are we going to reach that level where you are able to consolidate maybe the stock, that farmers have, and, to be able to use this? And our youth, because I say youth, like in Rwanda, which was part of the countries, I think it's number 3 in terms of startups. They have what they call the Ministry of Youth and ICT.
Yes.
So they know that the youth are the ones that develop things. They have the ones with ideas. So they have mixed youth, ministry, and ICT. But in Zambia, what needs to be done? Where are we finding challenges to be able to come up with these apps, to be able to go and put boots on the ground, to provide daily data? I don't know.
I think there's a similar, what you're talking about, there's someone who's been doing that. Is it eMusika, I think?
Yeah, so eMusika actually does input supplies. The one that does market aggregation to be able to say, okay, great, if there's a need for a certain product in a certain place, how many farmers can supply towards that need is AgriPredict. So there's another startup called AgriPredict that has got that capability. Amazing team of as you'd call them, young people who've got them. Female-led CEO with probably some of the top minds with regards to a amazing software development team that we've worked with. Interestingly, and this is something that people should find inspiration with. And you can go onto YouTube to go and look up AgriPredict if you want. The founders of AgriPredict started AgriPredict whilst they were students in university.
Wonderful.
So it started at a hackathon that we held at BongoHive. That's where the idea came from. One of them was a student at University of Zambia. They then continued working on the idea. Early idea, still trying to figure out whether it will work, whether it will not work. Still, one idea was working, it wasn't great, so they went on to the next idea. So kept trying ideas to find out what it is. Got a scholarship for both of them, the two founders, got scholarships to go and study in Rwanda. Whilst they were in Rwanda, they managed to raise a grant and then employed somebody to start running the company for them whilst they continued to develop, being the software developers for the company. And now they've graduated and they've come back and they're able to continue working on a company they built whilst they were students. So again, it tells you that there's no shortage of amazing minds in this country.
Sorry to cut you short. So you say this company aggregates farmers in a certain area, and because I think we lack the capacity most of the time, or let's say farmers lack the capacity to, let's say, to supply chain stores. So I think when they're brought together and they can come up with good quantities to actually supply chain stores, then I mean, that's a good thing.
So there are a number of things that you need to solve in the agricultural value chain. All the way from, so if you talk about the eMusika, it's the ability for farmers to get inputs, whether you're talking about fertilizer, seeds, chemicals they need to spray, and everything like that, but be able to get them and deliver to their place at a time. So everything, even from incubators, so on and so on. So they have a website where you can go and order these things, pay for them, and those things will be delivered towards your thing. But then logistics as well is another thing that you need to solve with regards to farming. Then when you talk about, for example, the onion shortage, there are a lot of amazing solutions that you can build if you just understand the value chain and where the problems are within the agricultural value chain. So, for example, just as economist, you would understand, for example, forecasting of the markets to be able to know, to say, all right, at this point there'll be a shortage. There's likely to be a shortage of onion. This is the season when you get onion, and then you'll see that people who can forecast will probably even find an ability to be able to buy onions, store them, and then supply during the time when there's a shortage in the market, and be able to make money during the time that there's that shortage. But that data and that information, you can't find it. It's for name any crop, maybe even maize in Zambia. you can't find. But a startup that's able to do that, and so that people can be able to invest in future supply of commodities in this market is something that is an amazing opportunity that startups could also get into if they understand how the economics of that work. So like you're saying, is that there are a number of big fundamental problems. And Zambia is a great country for agriculture, but you have to have, going back to the first conversation we have, people understand the value chain that they're dealing with and understand where the problems are and understand what it takes to actually solve those problems. Because it's not just a question of applying the technology, it's actually understanding what do farmers need, how do farmers work, when do farmers have money, and by understanding that cycle, you even know when to supply farmers with money so that they can continue growing things in that period of time. And then, and once you get that happening, it's then having the resources and the money to actually be able to deploy this, because technology works when it works at scale. That's the tricky part with technology, is that it makes money at scale. It doesn't make money when you have 100 customers or 1,000 customers. It makes money when you have 10,000, 100,000, 500,000 customers. That's when technology starts to make money.
That's why we need to grow our economy, so that we can have good numbers.
So when you're looking at fintech, you need to, first of all, you have the idea.
Yes.
Then you need to have developers. Do we have enough developers like in the country that are able to? For example, me, I can't do. I can log into my email and
which is okay, which is totally fine.
Up to now, I can't understand how an app is created. You see, so do we have like enough brains, developers? How expensive are they? How expensive is it to create, like for a small business, to create an app?
So the reality is that we have a shortage of developers in this country. And that's not for lack of trying. The universities are training people in computer science or software development. But then, as much as we want to say that startups need developers to be able to build, the truth is that industrial businesses are also digitizing. So they are also consuming the same developers that a startup wants to also get. So you find that banks are employing developers. You find that the telcos are also employing developers. And so these big companies, insurance companies, are now employing developers. So you find that as a startup, you're competing with a telco, you're competing with a bank to get developers. So you find that some of the startups that we're seeing are developers who are working for an institution full-time, but then part-time they're now building their app and starting to test it to see whether that could be a future startup that they can jump into if it takes off.
I've seen a lot of I can't lie to you, I've been trying to do a website.
Okay, yeah.
So I went to India, I think for $300, developed not a good website because the developer didn't understand Zambia, they don't understand our currency, so sometimes they'll make mistakes. They don't understand, and it's very difficult to discuss something with a developer who's very far from you. So you can't speak, here I wanted this, the color should be this, and things like that. I got a developer here in Zambia. It is a disaster. I've been trying to develop a website since January, after having paid them 70%.
Oh no.
It's just a website.
Yeah.
That's the website. And the amount that they ask for, the same amount that the developer in India. So do we have enough developers or...
So as in all markets, you will understand that, like I said, if there's high demand, it means that the very good ones become more expensive, and they become also in demand by larger institutions. So because they're very, very good. So software development, fortunately, is one of those things that, yes, you can go into university and become a software developer, but it's one of those that if you are hardworking, very, very hardworking, and you really apply yourself, you can also become a self-taught software developer. So I'm an example of a person who was a self-taught software developer. And we've met when we've employed a number of and if you follow them very, very well, they can be very, very good as well, depending on the language and depending on the framework and other things that they need to consider if they want to be able to do so. But like I said, the fight is always the very best when you have an industry that has high demand for the few developers that you have in the country. Then they become the cost of a developer. So then what happens is that if you and I are now looking for somebody to build our own website, then if we're paying $300 for a website, then you find that the person that we end up paying is not admitting that they are learning. And so that's when you run into the problems that you're talking about. But I can point you to good developers that I said, like, whatever website you want, this guy will build it. And but be prepared to pay the price that he's going to ask for.
What is your advice for a business? I know, what do they need to get? What is the in thing? Do they need to get an app? Do they need to do a website? I know very few people are visiting websites at the moment. I don't know which one is the website, app. What are the average costs of
okay, so I wouldn't really talk about the average cost because it depends on, it's like giving the average cost of a house and you never know whether people want a 2-bedroom house, 3-bedroom house, or a 4-bedroom. Yes, or so they're varying costs depending on what you want, because sometimes it can be simple and sometimes it can become complex based on what it is that people are trying to do. However, also again is when you're building a business, when you're considering a business, there's a line of thought that we use called customer centricity, where you build everything around, you don't build everything around your idea on yourself. You build it around the understanding and then the engagement and the conversations that you have with your potential customers. So you forget yourself and say everything is about the customer and not what I think the customer wants, but by testing. And that's why we say the process of incubation is the process of continuously testing what does the customer like, what does the customer not like. So it's like food. I cook the first one, I give it to Mr. Japao, he eats it and he goes like, no, there's not enough salt. I go back and cook the same meal, and this time I add more salt, and he'll come back and tell me like, yeah, but the onions, then I'm like, okay, great, should I add, remove? No, there was too much onion. I go back, I cook the same meal, I reduce the onion. So it's continuously testing until I finally get to a place where he says, this is what I was looking for. This is the meal that I was looking for. So that's the same process of building a business. Any business is being in a place where you're continuously listening to your customers and making adjustments until you hit that sweet spot where customers are continuously, So I'll give an example. Most people will not remember this, but many years ago, one of the companies in Zambia launched mobile money. And one of these big telcos launched mobile money. And if you notice how they launched it, is they went after a certain market. And what they said to the market was, you're able to go to one of these stores, one of these fashion stores, and you're able to go to the cinemas, and you're going to be able to pay for your tickets using mobile money. But the uptake was still very slow around that. When they changed their customer type towards a more low-income customer type, and then said, you're able to send each other money or to receive money from your relatives, from your friends and so on across the country, and then you're also able to just immediately get a loan for a very low amount on that money. Mobile money then took off. So by them continuously experimenting and then finding who's the customer that they want to find out and what the customer actually wants, they then found a place where they found a good place and a market which they could then finally grow into. So I think coming back to the point that we're trying to make is that whether you're going to make a website or whether you're going to make an app depends on the type of customer that you're targeting, first and foremost. And in most cases, my advice is start off with what we call a mobile-friendly website. And a mobile-friendly website is something that can be seen very easily on a mobile phone when somebody visits that website, and they can still fill out the information, and they can still fill out the information and get what they want. So some people again will not remember that, for example, when Afri Delivery started, they didn't have an app. They started with a website, and it was a mobile-friendly website which you could visit on your desktop, on your laptop, but you could also visit it on your phone, and it would still look good on your phone. And you could still make the order, and it wasn't as complicated as it is now. It was very simple. It was just pick this, a driver will come, give us your address, and a driver will come to you. Now, after a couple of tests where they proved that no, customers are now engaging this, that's when they went and built the app and launched the app. And then we all were like, oh yeah, now there's an app, let's use it. And then we all moved to the app. So so the first thing is just about confirming that they're customers. Once you've confirmed that the customers are there and that they're willing to use what you want, then you can go into the expensive route of whether you want to build an app and everything else that you want to do.
So most people can start with, social media and grow numbers after growing numbers and getting
exactly. Once you've confirmed your customers,
then you take the plunge. Or website.
Yeah, then you take the plunge.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, you can send your numbers on the your messages on the numbers that are appearing on the screen. At this particular moment, I invite you to call in to the studios, contribute. You're free to ask any questions when you call your name and where you're calling from. And today we are discussing FinTech and its role in national economic development. And I can tell you that you have heard there's a shortage of developers, and there are a lot of guys there that are trying to do business, and they will create an app and then they find that there's no customer for it because you haven't tested it on as we are speaking. I'm also learning that maybe that's not the route I should go. Grow
the numbers.
Grow the numbers.
Okay. So you had said something interesting about mobile money. As a tool for financial inclusion, we look at how mobile money has managed to bring the unbanked to participate into economic activities, and now we see mobile money companies hiking prices for transactions. Mobile money fees are higher than bank ATM charges. You're withdrawing maybe 3,000 and you find you're paying 30 kwacha, 50 kwacha, 50 kwacha. When I can withdraw 4,000 from an ATM for 8 kwacha, 5 kwacha. Now, what's the effect on the economic development?
Unfortunately, the cost of doing business in Zambia is expensive these days. So I can sort of understand from one point of view why the costs would have gone up, even though realistically speaking, when you talk about financial inclusion, is that what financial technologies have enabled the market to be able to do is for money transactions, secure money transactions, to be able to happen in places where banks could not initially go. So the cost of setting up a branch in a town or in a place is build a place, so on, employ people, and you have to carry those overheads and then try to make that money from bank charges to pay everybody and to pay your rent and whatever it is that you're trying to do. What mobile money was able to do and other financial technology was able to do was to say, here's an agent, he has a phone, that's your bank. You can give him money, he can store it for you. You can also withdraw from the same person. The cost of the overhead is negligible, and that's his business. So he knows how much he's paying himself out of the transactions that he's actually making out of this, because you treat each agent like a business person. Now there are two plays there. On one end, everybody's complaining about the charges have become higher, and which, frankly speaking, are operating costs that then come into play. On the other end,
or maybe it's because now they're being taxed as banks.
Yes,
and they're like, okay,
they'll have to pass. As businesses, all businesses, we pass on anything we get back to the customer at the end of the day, because then otherwise it reduces our margins. But then the other thing that is there is that higher charges on mobile money effectively at the very end of the day then force you to keep the money circulating within the network. Because if you say 3,000 kwacha, then you'll be like, I'm going to lose 50 kwacha. No, then I'd rather just pay you using mobile money instead of me going to withdraw the money and lose 50 kwacha then give it to you. So what is it's effectively doing is over time will become a cashless. So if you go into Kenya, for example, Kenya is almost cashless.
Yeah.
Almost completely cashless.
Kenya started with M-Pesa, huh?
Yes, with M-Pesa. So I've been into Nairobi a number of times, and whether it's paying the cops, whether I've gone into a place to buy chicken and chips, and I'm like,
mobile money.
And I take out my card to say, can I pay using my card? And we're like, we don't accept card, but if you've got M-Pesa, we'll take your M-Pesa. And be like, oh,
so M-Pesa is like mobile money.
It's just mobile money. Yeah. Yes, just mobile money. It's just mobile money. So nobody, almost nobody moves around with cash anymore, because anywhere you go, they'll take mobile money.
I think we're moving towards that also as a country. See, a few shops are now accepting payment via mobile money.
All of them.
Yeah, it's an option.
Even the chain stores are accepting. Yes.
Yeah, some of them.
No,
yeah,
some of them.
Some of them
you
are
can
already,
actually withdraw from. I don't want to mention them, but you can actually go there, even withdraw money.
Yeah, some of them are already accepting. So so effectively, by keeping the charges high, you're forced to keep the money in the mobile money wallets and just start paying each other wallet to wallet.
So there's this article I was reading when I was in university a long time ago. So this guy came up with an ATM. I think it was in the 70s. So he went to a US bank and told the manager, I have this wonderful innovation. So it's an ATM. You make a hole in the wall. Like you guys, like banks were closing at 1. If you remember, though, even in Zambia up to now, some 12:30 they're done.
14
so
hours.
You can put a machine, and then a person is going to come and withdraw money, put a card. So this manager says, look, there are robberies every 5 minutes in the USA, bank robberies. Now we have to hide our money in a safe, and people should not know where the safe is. You are trying to tell me that I should make a hole in the wall of my bank, place a metal box, stash it with cash, and tell the thieves you can come and just grab it. But look at today, ATMs, we are looking for ATMs. What should we do to change the mindset of Zambians to say, now we are going digital? Some people, I know people are saying mobile money is for the poor. That's what people think, but they are lying.
Some people still have the notion, no, my money is not safe.
Not really. It's safe. I mean, it's safe.
Very safe.
Yeah. So what should we do? Maybe on the government level to encourage the use of ICT. Up to now, we are still dependent on cash for some things. I know mobile money has done wonders, but I want to be able to buy fish, fish. Without talking to anybody. It's grilled, it's brought to me. So what should we do as a country to be able to encourage the youth to get involved? Business, funders, banks, traditional banks, to be able to lend to this segment. It takes everybody to come together to be able to create Zambia into much more of a high tech. This interview is not supposed to take place in this place. You're supposed to be home in your room, and then we just hologram you.
One day soon.
Yes. When are we expect? What do we need to do, especially for the segment of the population that probably can't read and write? What do we need to encourage?
Yeah. So there are a number of things. Actually, that's a very interesting question that you bring up. So there are a number of things that are going to take place, and I think are going to take place because I think if you read the reports, the amazing things that are happening in Zambia is that it's evolving at a rate that's faster than most people. I think it's always the challenge of there's an analogy that is always given that the only person. A fish does not realize that it's in water because that's what it lives in. It's only you who's looking at the fish that says, no, I'm standing outside and I'm looking at the fish and it's in water. So I think being in Zambia, we don't realize what's actually happening in Zambia until you listen to reports and you're talking to people from the outside who are always asking questions like, there's something happening in Zambia and why is it happening so fast? So I'll give you an example. And you love numbers, so I'm sure you will appreciate this. Zambia has a population of 19 million people. Realistically speaking, we're a small country.
Very small.
Very small.
From a population point of view, we're a very, very small country. Go and look for Visa's report, e-commerce report on Africa last year. Top 5 countries for e-commerce transactions in Africa: Nigeria, Kenya, Egypt, South Africa,
and
Zambia. Top 5 countries for e-commerce transactions in Africa. Nigeria, 200 million people. Kenya, 60-something million people. Egypt, way close to 100 million people. South Africa, 85 million people. Zambia, 19 million people. And you have a higher number of e-commerce transactions than all the other countries that have higher populations than you. So which means you've got, those are signs that, one, you've got an educated population that is comfortable to understand what they're doing with regards to transactions. Two, you've got a population that is comfortable to go online to make purchases and all that stuff. Now here's where, if you look at the report, here's where it gets interesting. The only thing that, so whilst we've got high level of e-commerce transactions, a number of those transactions are transactions that are happening where we're purchasing things outside the country and not within the country. So it's all the people are importing things from China, importing things from America, importing things from whatnot, that there's a high number of volume of transactions where we're buying things to import them to bring them into the country. And we're using our cards, meaning that we're comfortable. So the opportunity exists to now build and say, instead of people buying everything from outside, why can't they just have those transactions happening within the country? And we increase that number of transactions. Now, we already know that there are also on the mobile money itself, there are a number of transactions that are already happening. Why? Because beyond mobile money, it's now the value-added services that are now happening on top of mobile money. This morning we were just talking about about being able. This morning I went to pay for waste collection for my home. The people come to pick up the bins and everything and all kind of stuff. I got there and I said, great, can I pay by card? And their card machine was not working. Without thinking, I was just like, mobile money, and they said, yes, mobile money. And immediately I was paid. And that's a business. And they gave me the receipt, they wrote the receipt, transaction finished. So we're now coming to a place where now even businesses are accepting, like, listen, we don't want to tell you. Long ago they were said, go to the ATM and go and get cash.
Yeah.
But now they're just saying, like, no, whatever you have, bring it, we'll have the money and we'll be happy to. So the culture in Zambia is changing and we're not noticing it. It's people outside who are looking at us and saying, no, the culture in that country is actually changing. If we start to build startups in that country, you know, stuff. In the last, I don't know how many years, when I talked about the regulators now setting up sandboxes, go and talk to the regulators. There are more non-Zambians applying to get into our Zambian sandboxes than Zambians applying to get into the sandbox. These are startups from outside Zambia that are trying to get into our sandboxes because the Zambian regulation system is like, by that definition, much more better regulated and more advanced with regards to regulation than other countries. So they would rather start their startups in Zambia and then grow out into the rest of Africa. So it's all of these considerations that we need. Now, what we need to be able to do is we need to spend time with the one. We need to understand. Remember when I talked about value chains. If you want to do, you can apply. The beauty with fintech is that it's such a infrastructure layer of technology that you can apply it to any market. So you can have fintech in agri-tech. So you have startups, for example, that understand. So there's a startup in Kenya that started off by one thing. So every morning we understand marketeers. So here's an analogy. We understand the lifestyle of marketeers. People go and sell in the market. Every day, a lady will wake up from their home, go all the way to Soweto Market, to a place like Soweto Market, buy whatever it is, fresh vegetables, fresh fruits, whatever it is that they need to sell, then go off into town or wherever it is that they need to go and start to sell whatever it is that they need to sell. And they'll buy just enough to make sure that they can sell that or allow that not to become...
Sorry I think we have a first caller. Hello, your name and where you're calling from?
Hello?
Yes, your name and where you're calling from?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. You can go ahead.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello?
We can hear you. Your name and where you're calling from?
The line is very. When you go ahead, the line is very thin.
No, we can hear you, so you can go ahead. I think the caller is going to go back.
All right.
There's this issue of not to.
Yeah, sure.
Yes. You know, I went to mobile money. They say we can't open a mobile money line on a company.
So they have what they call, so it's not the normal mobile money line, it's what they call a merchant code. So merchant, yeah, you can apply what they call a merchant code that allows you as a company to be able to,
I see.
to assist to then accept mobile money payments. So you find that, for example, if you are paying a company, they'll say that you can then say you're making the payment, and then you can add the name of the
Hello?
Hello, your name and where are you calling from?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Oh, well, I can't hear you, but I hope you are hearing me. Good evening, Mr. SIMUNZA, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Yes. My name is Dila Simbukwa. I would like to very interested. I've been following the program. And I think I know where BONGOHIVE is, and I would love to visit you. Now, there's this thing I would like to find out on the mobile money. Since there's no king of it, what happens if you die and you have invested quite some money in your mobile money account? How do, and you know, it's always a situation whereby you don't share your PIN, and in a situation whereby the PIN is not shared, how can that be any beneficial in short to that?
Thank you.
I think this is what I want to find out. Yeah.
I've never thought of that.
That's interesting. That's a very good question. I'm not a lawyer, but I think that I assume that under estate law, you should be able to, one, if you leave a will, whoever you will leave it to, or if you have beneficiaries that the law says should receive it, I think that the law would allow for them to be able to go to a telco and to be able to say, this person left so much money, and they can do a reset or manage to do a transfer from that account to that place. I can't speak for the telcos, but that's a very, very good question, and I would say it should be referred to either one of the telcos to be able to say what the process would be. But from a technology point of view, it's not impossible.
So meaning the administrator can actually go to a telco and say, okay, by the courts, I'm the administrator, I want to...
Yeah, because essentially it's like a bank account.
Yeah.
So just because I have
only that a bank account, you have to have a next of kin or a beneficiary there.
The solution to my problem, where I need to go and get a merchant code.
Yes.
So people are able now to send cash to. Oh, okay.
Yes, because what that allows is then, if you notice sometimes when you're making a payment, is that you've got a certain number of ways you can make a payment. Is that I can make a transfer from me to you.
Yes.
Then there's money that I can send to an agent. So that's an agent code. That's very different. When you go in to get mobile money, that's an agent code that you get. Then a merchant code allows you to say, when you're paying, is you enter the number that you're entering. Then it allows you to say paying a business or paying something like that. You can say choose paying a business. Then it asks you, what's the code of that business? And then you enter the name of the business there. Then it will give you the option to say how much are you paying them, and then it makes the transfer to that business.
There's one shop where, I call a taxi driver. If I want to run away from Ulendo, please don't kill me, Ulendo. So I can call a taxi driver. I tell him, go to this filling station. There's a shop. Especially I do like that on Saturdays if I don't want to go out. So I'll tell him, go and pick this. They will pick what I want. Then I say, go to the counter. And then they will give me so that I think they normally send
a prompt message to your phone.
A prompt message to me. Then I just transact and I pay.
Yes.
Without the guy even being involved, the gentleman will just bring me the item. This is what you're
Yes, so so things like that can be allowed to do. I mean, like they are. So that's a pull notification. Yes. So it prompts you to say, can you make the payment? Then it pulls the payment from your side.
Yeah. Your name and where are you calling from?
Hello?
Yes?
Hello.
Yes, sir. Your name and where you calling from?
Hello.
Your name and where you calling from?
You are saying I'm not getting you.
Your name? Yes?
I just want to speak to ask Mr. SIMUNZA. Can I go on?
Yes,
Yes, you
you may.
can.
Yes.
I want to ask him to highlight more. If I want to do a course in software development, how can I begin the startup?
So if you want to do a course or you want to develop a software, I think our technician will have to work on the
phone
Yeah.
line.
on the phone line. Yes.
Yeah, but I think the question there was that if you are interested in becoming a software engineer or a software developer, how can you get started? So, like I said, you can either go and study software engineering or computer science in a university or a college. It's a great place to start. But if you want to do it on your own, you want to go through the road where you're teaching yourself and you've got the dedication. Now, when I say dedication, I'm not saying it's an easy thing to do, but you have to apply yourself and make sure that you actually do it. There are a number of places that you can go. So there are places like the Dufuna Code Academy, so Dufuna, D-U-F-U-N-A, Dufuna Code Academy, where you can learn online. You pay minimum amounts to then learn online. They put you in groups and they start to teach you. We're partnered with the Dufuna Code Academy. So we know that they do very good work. We also, through the Dufuna Code Academy, we're currently running what we call the Hackers in Residence program at Inkwashi, where we've got programmers that live in one place together for 3 months whilst they're learning how to become computer programmers. Then we've got, then there are places where even for free, you can learn by yourself online. So you've got websites like 100 Days of Code, where you can yourself start learning online and teaching yourself. And like I said, you have to be dedicated, join forums, be willing to share what you've done and be willing to be criticized by other people on what you've done wrong, and have that heart. Because software programming is it's almost like a communication science, in the sense of like, it's almost like becoming an academician. You can't write a theory paper on your own and say, I'm the best, I'm now a doctor. You have to be willing to show it to people and listen to the criticism, go back, write it again, come back, show it to people. Does it work? It doesn't work. Have customers bash you, then come back, change it until finally you get what's perfect and they say, yes, this is working. So when I say that you have to be dedicated, is you have to be willing to fail and keep trying and trying until you get it right.
My advice is that I know this is going to sound wrong because I'm an academician, but it's better self-taught. I know that the developers of Facebook, they never did anything. Bill Gates never sat in the classroom. I think it's more like driving. Driving school, yes, it's very good. But if you teach yourself or somebody's just teaching you at home, you become, in my own opinion, you become a better driver. And I think self-taught, because you are learning through mistakes.
Yes.
You are not reading theory.
Though driving is a bit dangerous. Learning on your
Even coding, you can end up hacking.
Yeah.
Yes, I think self-taught is much more interesting, especially in groups. That's why I think government needs to do a lot.
Yeah, a lot more can be
To
done.
fund incubators like BONGOHIVE. Just that, we have a lot of youth on the street. When a person is on Facebook, where I see that we have a lot of people that we can use for the right cause. You look at the number of memes people write. Some, it's just code a bit, they start pictures of how Lusaka is called.
very creative, eh?
Yeah, very creative guys.
Yes.
Like, we are wasting, this is wasting of talent. I normally ask, like some guy did a drawing of me. Then I said, but this guy, they found time. You know what I mean? Like, where did you get this time to even start drawing me and, where did you get the time from? So these people, it's like energy that is just like going nowhere. So I think the best way, yes, universities are very good, go and do your computer science, but I think government needs to do a lot more to fund institutions like his.
Yeah, so maybe we can even have a BONGOHIVE in every province, you know.
Yes, yes, and it's government funded, because the way you fund universities, that's what you fund. People are coming in, and you know, for me to train or to be able to mingle with people, that's time. So people need to be paid. You don't need to look for profit. I always tell people that, you know, people say we have built a stadium in Lusaka, but where is government's profit? It's not profit. You know, we can't just be working all the time. We need to watch football to entertain us. You know, an idle mind is a very dangerous. You can't work 24/7. Yeah, you need to relax. That's why you need things like parks, you need stadia, you need the same with developers. You need to pump. Look at, we don't have our Silicon Valley in Zambia, but we need it. And who else apart from government? Companies, yes, they're looking for developers, and they're spending amount of money.
Maybe with that 100-day course where developers go and live in one place, maybe Nkwashi would be our Silicon Valley hub.
I'm telling you, I can. What you have told me, I sometimes it's better to do it yourself. Yeah, like now, like the website, I was really telling this guy, this picture, it's off. There's no way you can put, you know, like there's a picture of a person, then you put where to press, like on the nose. You can't do that. You know, you need to send it. You know, there's a way you do things. Yeah. Now I can't do it because I don't know it, but what I want, I know. So the other gentleman needs to understand me. So I think the assessment of job on training, that was real. I was used to, you know, but I think we need government funding. And I'm telling you, with this program, I think tomorrow we are going to receive maybe 50. Coming with ideas. Director, do we have any messages? Let's check out the messages. No messages.
So when it comes to policy, I see a lot of things are being done. Now we have the Ministry of SMEs. So when it comes to policy, what policy would you want to see around not only fintech but also information technology when it comes to creating an IT-friendly environment?
Oh yeah, I think that in a country like Zambia, there are a number of things that we've done and that we can continue to do. So good steps taken over the last couple of years are things like introducing data protection acts to make sure that even as new ideas are coming out, there's privacy and so on and so on. But on the other hand, what we want to avoid doing when we create policies is over politicizing the policies, so that they're not written. You want to create policies and laws that are written definitely to protect the people, but not in a way to protect the elite in a political sphere in a sense. So because then that can play against whether or not businesses actually think the country is investable, or whether businesses can actually operate within the area. So, for example, a few years ago, we had startups and companies in this country that were raided just because there was a political conversation going on, that somebody believed that a phone call had been made. And next thing is we had Hackers Guild, BONGOHIVE, and a number of other places that were raided by the regulator. And in any country where you're trying to promote businesses, any businesses where you have no proof that they were involved in anything, why would you want to raid them with police and everything like that? Coming there? And it was a frightening experience to get through. So I hope that with this stability now, that will allow us to be able to have a place where people can say, you've got places like Nigeria right now where the police can stop a person with a laptop to search you, so on and so on. And just last year, you had young people protesting and people were killed because of that. You don't want that to happen in Zambia. You want the same software developers, the same youths that you're talking about, to become productive. You talked about Rwanda, for example. And that was an interesting example where they put the Minister of Youth with the Minister of ICT. And I remember going to a conference where the Minister of Youth and ICT in Rwanda was saying that the reason why they did that was it was intentional to say that in other countries, they put the youth are added under the social sector.
Yes.
To say, how do we help these people? They intentionally decided to put youth under the resource sector to say, how do we use the youth as a resource to enable the economy to grow? That's the mentality we should be approaching the youth with. Instead of having a mentality of like, how do we continuously find ways to help the youth, is no, how do we create a country that says, here are the resources, you have the energy, you have the education, how do you tap into the resources and grow our economy? So you think of the youth as a resource instead of them thinking of like, with these are people we need to save. So I think that's a mentality that we can also have, and we start to write policy around that way that then says, all right, what are the skills, in my opinion, the best resource any country can have is the human talent that it has. Look at India. We were talking about India just a few countries ago. India's ability to invest in the education of their people to the extent that they have the most software developers in the world enables them to be the software developers in any country, whether it's America, the United Kingdom, Europe, whatsoever, so on, all kind of stuff. Any place where they're going to get most software developers, they're going to be Indians. To the extent that now the CEO of Google is Indian, the CEO of Microsoft is Indian, the CEO of the top whatever companies, top tech companies are now becoming all Indians. But this is years of investment in a country in educating and making sure that they have the top talent in one field and make sure that they're the best in that field to be able to do that. And there's nothing that stops Zambia from deciding that they want to become that country. There's nothing that stops Zambia from deciding that, okay, great, we will become the financial hub of Africa.
Which we can.
All technology that is going to be done with anything to do with finance, we have a stable country. You are able to have peaceful elections. You're able to make decisions. You're able to walk around. There are things that you can do in this country that we don't do, that we take for granted. People are able to walk around at night. People are able to whatnot. That just allows you to say, this is a stable country, so why don't we take advantage of all of those things and make sure we attract the best talent to come and be in this country, to then work alongside Zambians and build companies that affect that affect the continent. And those policies are everything from dealing with immigration that allow you to be able to say, if you have the best software, if you have the best software developers in Africa, why can't they come and live in Zambia? You pay them well, and these days with remote working, great internet, they can be living in Zambia and working for companies that are outside the country. But as long as they know that they can drive around Lusaka peacefully, if they're on Friday, they can go partying if they want to peacefully. Monday, they won't be searched.
We have countries in Europe where if you just declare a certain amount of capital, say I've got this money, automatically you become a citizen of that country.
Yeah, but here you just give them a good work visa, make sure that they live in a nice place that is peaceful, they can drive around Lusaka peacefully. They'll be happy to move here, work peacefully, and that skill, because remember in programming, you program in pairs. It's me and another software developer working together. And if you just say like, yes, even if you bring people from other countries who are great software developers to come and they're pairing with Zambian developers, you're developing the talent of Zambian developers to be as good as these developers that are here. Now, if the Zambian developer works for, and this is already happening, by the way, we were talking about demand and supply. You have Zambian developers that live in Zambia but work for countries, that work for companies outside Zambia.
We have a friend, I won't mention his name, but he lives in Zambia and programs for international companies, huge ones. That friend ran the Kenyan elections in 2016. Is it 2016 or 2017? The one that Uhuru just... The gentleman was behind the ICT. But here in Zambia, you get foreign companies. So, and that's what I wanted to ask. Why is there so much... so much people want to go and get maybe foreign programs, especially in government institutions. They want to buy program software from outside the country to use in government institutions. When we have Zambians that can be given those contracts. So do you find those challenges? You have developed a nice program, you want to sell it to maybe private sector, public sector, and people are not buying because they prefer to...
so that's a confidence thing. So sometimes you have a confidence level where people just believe that because it's Zambian, maybe it's not of top-notch quality. And that, I think, will, over time, we'll be able to convince Zambians that we can get to a place like that. But the good thing is that now, I think, hopefully, government can finally get to a place where they decide to now start to, like you're saying, start to engage Zambian developers to build certain components of the government system. You don't need to give them the full system, just let them start developing components, and as you gain confidence in that, you start to give them more. And as they gain confidence in that, you're able to then say, okay, great, this whole system that the Ministry of Agriculture ran was built in Zambia. This whole system that runs the whatnot was built.
But we're actually on a good note. I think the NAPSA system is built by Zambians.
Yes.
ZRA system by Zambians.
Yes.
Yeah. And now I hear the same Zambians who built those systems,
NIMA,
NAPSA
Zambian.
one, the NAPSA one,
NAPSA, Zambian.
creating infrastructure, IT infrastructure for Congo.
Yes.
You know, Congo is a little behind in
Congo, Swaziland, if I'm correct. So we are.
That's a
you're
Zambian
right.
company.
That's a Zambian company that is doing that. And
We won't just mention it.
that same company, the same company that you're talking about, the same system that you're talking. One of our tax system, the ability for us to be able to go to the bank and using a bank system to be able to pay our taxes on one of the top systems on this continent. Okay. So it's just sometimes it's just a confidence factor that we have in ourselves to be able to say, as Zambians, here's an example that I can give you. A few years ago, a young man walked into BONGOHIVE and said, I want to be able to start a business, but I'm not sure. Let me understand what it is you do. And what he used to do is get mealie meal, package it, and then resell it. But he said, okay, great. Any classes you have, I'd like to sit in. Let me. And he started hanging around, sitting in, doing a couple of errands. Then he came up with a startup idea. He was working at night on it. Then he came up with a startup idea. It was the middle of the night. This was before free delivery. And he thought to himself, if I could order food and have it delivered to me, I'll be able to. And he checked how many people would be able to have that. The very next day, he put up an advert on Facebook. On that advert, he said, if you're ordering food, I'll deliver it, or we will deliver it to you. He didn't mention his name, he just mentioned the company. If you order, he created a name for a company and put there and said, if you're ordering food, we'll deliver it to you. That's the time we used to be in Kalundu. Our offices used to be in Kalundu before we moved to Tawambeke. His first orders came somewhere around Tawambeke, around East Park, somewhere there and all kind of stuff. He would walk from our offices in Kalundu opposite University of Zambia, walk to East Park, buy the food, walk to that office, go and deliver it. He didn't even have money to jump on a minibus to go and deliver the food. Deliver the food, get paid, and that's the money he would use for the minibus now to come back. Did this over a couple of weeks. A number of people started ordering. They would be sitting at their desks. No, I want this. He would go and order on this. Somebody else saw him and said, you know what? This same food you're delivering, I've got these documents. Can you deliver these documents for me? And he said yes. He just said he designed a company for food. But then when somebody told him, can you deliver documents? He just said yes immediately. Yes, I'll deliver them. Immediately went and delivered. It was passport, visa. Next thing he started advertising, I can deliver your documents for you. People then started saying, oh, I've got this, I need them delivered this. He started delivering those things. That startup became what you call the Musanga. So there used to be a startup that used to be Musanga that you could now go online. They developed an app, they developed a website. You could then develop that he raised first round of investment, he raised $25,000. From $25,000, next round of investment, he raised $250,000. He had investors now started, and the company started growing. It became a company. He had riders, he had drivers, he had whatnot. From a person who used to walk around and do the deliveries himself, he now had people that he had employed. Next thing he was doing deliveries, he had trucks that he could. So what he was doing is he would say, I don't own the cars, but if you have a truck, I'll give the deliveries to you. You do the deliveries, then I'll pay you for the deliveries that you do. Started doing that business, and next thing we knew, he was delivering cement, so on and so on. So this was the company. Now, cash flow issues along the way, that company died. There were some other things that happened there, but great entrepreneur, great business model, cash flow issues when we talk about patient capital, lack of patient capital in this country, the company ended up dying. Obviously, it hurt. It hurt. He said, okay, great, let me go and get a job. He went and got a job in Kenya. after his experience here. Having felt that he failed, the pain of his failure, he went and went. In Kenya, he worked for 1 year, and he got another idea. He looked and observed and saw restaurants. You know the restaurants that we now have in the restaurants we have in the market, the ones that sell in Shima, that sell whatnot, all stuff.
Fried potatoes.
Yeah, mateleto, all of those.
Yeah.
He went and started going to eat in all of these restaurants, one bit by bit. Started asking them questions. Where do you buy your vegetables from? Where do you buy your meat from? Where do you buy this from? So they'll tell him, no, meat, I buy from that side. This, I buy from that side. This, go to the restaurant the next day, eat the food, ask questions. Where do you buy vegetables from? Where do you buy your cooking oil from? Where do you buy your meat from? Where do you buy this, that? Started going restaurant to restaurant, just started asking these questions. And he noticed that where they buy their meat from, where they buy their vegetables from, is not near the restaurant. And he told them, what time do you come to open your restaurant? No, we come in and what you do, this is what we do. They said, what if I deliver the meat to you? What if I deliver the cooking oil to you? What if I deliver the mealie meal to you? What if I deliver all of these things to you? Would you buy from me? He says, yes, no, it saves me time. Instead of me going out to go and stand for meat, instead of me to go out to buy vegetables, instead of me going to all of these places to buy these things,
Waking up early.
I'll just go straight to my restaurant, clean, make sure my restaurant is good. You deliver everything to me, that's fine. He then started doing those deliveries. Buy that stuff. Then, by WhatsApp, they would message him. I need meat, I need this, I need this, I need this. He would deliver. I need this, I need this, I need this. He would deliver. Then he built, when he had enough customers, he had about 10, 15, 20. He would message me all the time. Now, I'm not saying that this is a story that I read. This is a person I know, a Zambian. Not even a foreigner, a Zambian in Kenya.
Actually, I've read that story.
Going around, and this is a person we know. He used to be at BONGOHIVE, a person we personally know. He then went and asked for an app, and he would message me, SIMUNZA, I now have 15 customers. I now have 20 customers. I now have 50 customers. I'm now building my app. He built his app. His startup is now called Top Up Mama. From the beginning of last year, January, to now, he has raised over $2 million. He now has tuk-tuks, everything, so on, and what he delivers are, he has a warehouse, and he now has a startup in Nairobi, and the same startup in Lagos, in Nigeria.
He's gone.
Delivering meat, cooking oil, vegetables, so and so on, to small restaurants. Making the life easier for restaurant owners to be able to say, I wake up in the morning, all I have to do is go to my store. If I look and I'm short of cooking oil, I just go into the app and say, I need cooking oil, I need this, I need this. And they'll say, oh, in so many hours, it will be delivered to your restaurant. Or in 30 minutes, it will be delivered to your restaurant. And all over Nairobi, you now have these vehicles going around delivering things to restaurants.
Mr. Kapao, closing remarks. I'm getting ideas.
I'm sure a lot of people have gotten one or two things from today's interview. Thanks for
Can I be coming to your office just to sit?
You'll probably find that it looks boring and it's quiet. But
everyone is working.
Yeah, but definitely what people can do, I think what COVID allowed us to do is we took a lot of our events online. So a lot of talks for entrepreneurs we now take online. But not only that, is that by if you're on Facebook, you're on Twitter, you follow us on Twitter, facebook.com/BongoHive. You follow us twitter.com/BongoHive. You follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/BongoHive. You follow us on LinkedIn, or you even better, if you read our newsletter. Every Monday by 15 hours, our newsletter is out. Every Monday, our newsletter is out. In there, we tell you what is happening in the ecosystem, what is happening with startups, which competitions, which investors are looking for, what not. And so if you read that regularly every week, you'll know what's happening, and you'll be able to know when we're hosting something at BongoHive, when one of our partners like Jacaranda Hub or Nyamuka Zambia is hosting something, and and the amazing things that you can do in Zambia. So we're very easy to get hold of on social media, and then you'll know when to come to the office, because then you'll find us people who are active.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching Economic Briefcase. Today we are discussing the role of FinTech in national economic development. Thank you very much for coming. I think this was one of the best shows that we have ever had.
Definitely.
Because I think just watching it, you can get a lot of ideas and see that for you to develop a credible business, you don't have to see that your friend is doing chicken for sale, you also put up chicken for sale. You need to find solutions to problems. People ask, but which business can they invest in? You need to look, what is the problem? What is the problem in the area? You need to identify a problem, then find a solution, and that solution should be able to get you money. Thank you very much. See you next week, same time.